I've been involved in scouting for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. I've got 3 sons who are all grown Eagle Scouts now, and through college, 2 are married, and 1 trying to find somebody to get married to. I've been involved in Friends of Scouting off and on. I started in Chicago in scouting, went down to Texas. I did a lot with Friends of Scouting down in Texas. Then when I moved here back in '98, I got involved here, did a lot of presentations when my boys were still in scouting. I kind of dropped out of it a little bit after my boys got out of scouting back about 2003. And just in the last couple of years, I felt like I wanted to do a little bit more with scouting again, to give a little bit more back, because it's given me so much. That Ryan tackled me one day in a weak moment and gave me that spiel that it's only an hour a week, you know, and here I am. This is a different approach. This is something we think, it's going to take a little while to phase into how we do the Family Friends of Scouting presentations in each of the units. Essentially, what we're doing is pushing down more of the responsibility into the units themselves. It's always been a volunteer-run approach to doing this, but we really think this is going to be more effective. It's going to run smoother each year. I think, as we get more people into all the units that really understand the ins and outs of Friends of Scouting, and more importantly, understand their own units and what kind of things that their own units are capable of doing, and what will motivate them and what will excite them to give into scouting. That's a very important facet of this change. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Couple 3 pages in, let's take a look at the little pie chart. Scouting is a very critical piece of how we get the money to raise to fund scouting each year. And that is right into this field service unit that we're focusing in here, the Ford Field Service Council. Okay, you can see in that pie chart that there's over $500,000 that was raised during 2011 that went towards funding it. That represented about 17% of the entire budget for funding this council. So it's a very large portion of the budget. In those little brochures, the little ones that you'll hand out in the presentation, there's another pie chart in there that shows you where all the money comes from the funding, and it shows you with the sliver that is Friends of Scouting. But this is a very important portion. It's split up into 3 different categories, as it shows there. The Family Friends of Scouting is the blue portion, and you can see that that's more than a third. In fact, it's larger than the other 2 portions. There's the Community Friends of Scouting, which is reaching out into businesses and the like, people outside of scouting that aren't directly benefiting possibly, but we definitely approach them as well. And then the Council Friends of Scouting, that's from the professional scouters themselves, guys like Ryan there that get hit up every year and say, hey, give back to this cool thing that you're working for. And it's amazing how much they get out of from the professionals, because there aren't very many professionals. The other sources of giving, the major ones, are listed there in the top portion. Like I say in that little brochure, there's a little pie chart that shows you, and I always like to go through that when you're doing your presentations for your units to kind of let people know where all that money comes from. Obviously, you're all very familiar with popcorn sales, the camping and activity fees that you pay, the special events. We still do get money from the United Way, but the United Way has getting hit from so many different 501c now that the portion that's been able to go to scouting has gotten smaller and smaller. Where the money goes to, I won't go through this. It's a lot of it's very straightforward, but some of them are listed there. And also, if you turn to the next page, it says what our council provides for your unit, and it talks about where does all this money, that comes in, what's it go towards. So these are good things to familiarize yourself with, to really understand, why do we need so much money? And when you really break it down, it's amazing how much they do with this little money that is really brought in for scouting. That's one thing that's always amazing and so forth. So you can look through that at your leisure. Any questions on this percentages and so forth? The one thing I like to highlight, the Friends of Scouting campaign, and people, some people are reluctant to give to it. It's like any other charity. But this happens to be a charity that you are benefiting from, the people that are directly involved in scouting right now. And we want to make sure you get the opportunity to give to this charity and help fund it. One of the things we talked about, I think the number is $176, Ryan, is that correct,
Yes.
per scout? When you break it all down as to what it takes to run this field service council, and per scout, the portion is $176. Well, obviously, we don't go and ask every scout for $176 the day they come in and join every year. So we raise that money in a number of different fashions. Friends of Scouting is a piece of that, and it's a very important piece of that, and we have goals and objectives to get that, and when we raise more, we can do more, and things, benefit from it, the council can do better and bigger programs. One of the things I always like to point out, I think it's mentioned in the little brochures here too, is that by keeping the entry level in the scouting low and raising funds through many other different things, we can do things like the program they got here in Grand Rapids, where here it is, says over 6,000 youth were supporting our inner city and rural scout reach programs. Funding for these programs contributed 100% by generous donors like you. These are kids that would never get a chance to be in scout and never could afford it and never be exposed to it if we don't have these types of fundraisers. All right, any questions on that? All right, let me jump a few pages ahead. And this kind of gets to the core of the new approach that we've got. This little org chart kind of thing. You see that? Now, if you look on the left, I'm the first horizontal box here. I'm the district family FOS chair, and all my contact information's over there. If you've got any questions you want from me, I'm very accessible. The top phone number is my home number. The lower number is my cell phone number, and that's my email there. tcole@chartermi.net. I'm very responsive to that because I always have all that stuff right here on my desk, except for the home phone. That's probably the worst one to call. So anyway, I'm helping, I'm coordinating, I'm helping get guys like Steve here, which are the next column, unit campaign managers. Unit campaign managers are kind of designated to a certain number of units in a certain, hopefully, geographical area. And what they're going to do is help these units get into this new form, this new approach we've got to Friends of Scouting. Answer any questions they have. If they don't want to do their own presentation, Steve can, if you've got Steve as your unit campaign manager, you can ask him to try and line somebody up with you. But we're really pushing forward, and you'll see that in the incentive program, that you get someone within your own unit to do that presentation. It may be tough the first year, but in most units you probably can find